my name is Miranda and today I'm here to review the book Somewhere Only We Know. This actually came out last May, according to the side of it, and I started reading it back in like March of last year, but then I just got like bogged down with like school stuff and I just never ended up going back to it, even though I really did like it, and I made it probably about like 100 or so pages in before I put it down and then never picked it back up. So, you know, I'm trying to get through a lot of my TBR books that have just been sitting there for a while, and this one I knew was one that I actually did like and was interested in, so I was like, why not pick it up now? And I do also really love the backstory of it. It's set in like, well, I guess not set in like the K-pop world, because like this is the K-pop world, like the real world, but it is about K-pop and a main character who is like a super big K-pop star, and I hadn't read a book like that before. There's actually one coming out, I think in September, that's also about K-pop, and I think it's called Lucky or something, and it's got big buzz. I'm really excited to check that out. But this one I was also really excited to check out because I just had never read a book where like K-pop was featured so prominently, which is weird since like it's so popular in the world. So this though, super cute, super cute. It is just like, so it's up there with like classic romance tropes, you know? It is about this superstar, as I mentioned before, this K-pop big star, Lucky, and she's really big in Korea. She's probably like the biggest solo star, and she's just wrapping up her tour, and then in 2 days she's making her big American debut on a late night talk show, and this is supposed to be like the next step in her career that's like gonna launch her into being internationally known. If you know anything about K-pop, you know that it's no secret that they are very strictly managed for the most part. I mean, there's probably like some smaller groups that aren't as so, but they're very much in like what you say, what you wear, what you eat, dance lessons, plastic surgery, stuff like that. So it's a very controlled world she lives in. Even though she is like the big star, she doesn't have too much say in what she does, what she wears, what she sings, stuff like that. She's starting to get a little disillusioned. She loves the singing, she loves the entertainment, she loves being able to connect with fans, but she feels like that connection is no longer there because she's so separated from everything. Seeing how she's so big, she has to stay in her hotel room, she doesn't really get to see the fans aside from like quick meet and greet, so it's just, you know, she's feeling a lot of stress. And our other main character, because this is a dual point of view, is Jack. Jack is also struggling. He just took a gap year off from going to college after graduating, and he really wants to go to school for photography. Photography is what he really loves, but his family, he's worried, won't approve of that since they're kind of encouraging him more into like a business route. So he's interning at his dad's bank, but he hates it, and he is instead to like make money moonlighting as a paparazzo kind of for this sleazy tabloid magazine. So the thing that I really like about this book is that it all takes place within like a the majority of it takes place within like a 24-hour period. I really like books like that, I feel like, that have kind of this constraint time limit where all this crazy stuff is happening, and I feel like I don't read them too often, so when I do, it's really fun just to see like a whole entire book that takes place like within 24 hours and so much crazy stuff happens. What ends up like starting this all is that Lucky is in bed and she is just feeling super hungry. Like she just wants to have a hamburger. She knows that her career is probably about to change even more if she does well on this late night show, and if she doesn't do well, then it's gonna go down. Like, so it's gonna change either way, either direction. And she knows that this kind of somewhat anonymity that she has within the entire world is gonna go out the window because it's just not possible with like the entire world knowing who you are. So she just wants a hamburger, so she sneaks out for the night. The issue is she, like I said, took sleeping medicines and anxiety meds and is just feeling super loopy and just like has like one track, I'm getting a hamburger, on her mind. She runs into Jack, who is like, oh my gosh, this girl is wearing hotel slippers and appearing drunk out of her mind. Like, I just can't let her walk around this city by herself. They have a very interesting night. Like, Lucky, like I said, super loopy, and Jack even points out that like there's similarities between like how she was acting and her real personality. Like, it wasn't just all like loopiness, like some of it is she finds wonder in all these things that she wasn't allowed to do. Like, a big thing she likes to do is go and try all these foods because she's put on such a super strict diet since she was like 13, so she's really like, I want carbs, I want protein, I want all of it, please. Like the food. My friend studied abroad in South Korea last year, and all her Instagram photos of the food she found was just like, made me my mouth water looking at them. So that was kind of what it was like reading the descriptions of the food they were eating, because they ate it all, like all the delicacies, all the staples, like it was delicious. Okay, and like I wish we had like smell-o-vision to be able to smell it. So because she like has this mix of sleeping meds, anxiety meds, she ends up passing out, and Jack has to take her back to his apartment because he's like, I don't know what to do with this girl, she doesn't have a phone, like I don't know, like he's kind of panicking. And when she's at his apartment, he realizes while she's sleeping, that's a creepy sentence, but it's fine, I tell you, that it's Lucky. Like, he finally realizes that it's Lucky, and because he's a budding paparazzo, he texts his boss and is like, oh my gosh, I'm with Lucky, like, I'll spend the day with her, get all these photos, this will be my big break, and then, like, I'll actually be, like, a full-time paparazzi, have a job, and, like, I won't have to rely on my parents and what they want me to do. It's kind of a sleazy thing, and, like, throughout the book, like, he does feel guilty about it, and you're like, you should probably tell her right now, and, like, sometimes he does things that I'm like, no, Jack, it's no bueno for me. But for the most part, he's a really, really sweet guy. There's conflict, so it's not like he's just like, whatever, I'm doing this. But as they spend the day together, they end up falling for each other, of course, and it's really nice for Lucky because even though she doesn't realize that he knows who she is, she kind of thinks that it's someone who doesn't know and that is really falling for her and not because she's lucky, and is getting to experience all these sights and wonders and foods and things that she never ever got to see. They also have some really nice conversations about kind of like life growing up and being like, what kind of life do you want for yourself? Is it enough to please everyone else but not yourself? Is it enough to go after what you want and disregard everything else that everyone wants? Like, what is kind of they're very opposite, I think, in kind of terms on that side, but it's just because of the life they live. Like, Jack is very much like, I want to do what I want no matter what other people think, and is trying to get that way that he can do that for himself. Lucky, on the other hand, is someone that very much is just like pleasing to people and feels guilty if she's not appreciative of what she has, doesn't complain at all, and feels like that's okay, like as long as other people are happy, her happiness doesn't matter as much. So it was very interesting, like the conversations they had, and I feel like that kind of helped the relationship, because like I said, it's 24 hours, so it's kind of almost insta-lovey in that you're like, oh my gosh, really, we're falling for each other already? But at the same time, I feel like they have really deep conversations, and it's kind of one of those like bonding moments, I think, that is like a 1 in a million lightning in a bottle, that like you can kind of understand where it's coming from, and that like all of a sudden like they feel these deep, intense feelings for each other. And what I did like though is, this is kind of a spoiler, so I'll put my hand up, but there's an epilogue at the end that's like a year later, and I feel like it was kind of better because they mentioned like, oh, fresh start, new stuff, no more lies, no more secrets, and I feel like that worked better and made me believe in like the insta-lovey thing almost more, because it was kind of like, if they had just gotten together then, there would have been issues. So they waited, they kind of put in the work on themselves, and when they felt better about who they were and more confident, then they got back together as a couple, and I feel like that's how it should be, you know? So that's why it kind of felt more realistic, because too, like the arguments and fights they had, I was like, what's gonna stop these arguments and fights from happening like a week from now if you guys get together now? But a year later, like obviously that makes sense that they put in the time and effort and made the changes that they wanted to. I loved Lucky so much, I will say. I think Jack was cool and cute, but Lucky made the book for me. She's so funny, and she really is truly like, it's a coincidence that her name is Lucky, because it very much embodied the Britney Spears song Lucky, where it's like, if there's nothing missing in my life, why do these tears come at night? Like, she's not crying, but she feels empty, she feels disconnected, she feels robotic, and she feels like there's no connection to the music, to the fans anymore, which is what she really, really loved about it. So I enjoyed this book so much. It was awesome to see like the different sites they went to too, because it kind of feels like you go along on this adventure with them, and it definitely had kind of a like, yeah, Chasing Liberty, like President's Daughter, if you've ever seen those movies, where like the president's daughter like runs off and then like a bodyguard goes after her, but he can't know that he's a bodyguard, so he has to pretend that he's just like a random person, or else she would ditch him, and then she finds out. So it felt like that, which I really, really like. So I super enjoyed this book. I'm glad that I finally finished it and that it was as good as I remembered it being. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and if you are looking for something to check out, like a cute summer romance read, definitely recommend this. I read it in like less than, I think it took me like a day and a half. It was just like, you want to get through it, and because it's like set in 24 hours, so much is happening, so it flies by so fast and you're so entertained by everything that's happening. So if you've read this book, please feel free to leave your thoughts about it down below in the comments. Also make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!